Ever feel like getting your toddler out the door in the morning requires the strategic planning of a military general and the negotiation skills of a hostage diplomat? You're sweating, there's a stray shoe missing, and somehow your kid has a half-eaten waffle and crying about a blue cup. If that sounds familiar, you are absolutely in the right place. Welcome to the Rising Parent Podcast. I'm Tim.
And I'm Edna. We are so glad you're here with us today.
Today, we are diving deep into a topic that is the absolute backbone of surviving and actually enjoying parenthood. We are talking about the importance of routine. Now, let's get started.
Routine. Just the word itself makes my nervous system sigh with relief. But I know for some parents, the word routine sounds rigid. It sounds like, no fun, strict schedules, color-coded spreadsheets.
Hey, leave my spreadsheets out of this. You know I love a good spreadsheet.
You do. You really, really do. But for real, a routine isn't about trapping yourself in a rigid schedule. It's actually about creating freedom. When kids know what's coming next, their anxiety drops, and our stress levels as parents just plummet. It's like magic.
Exactly. It's not about doing things at 8:01 a.m. precisely. It's about predictability. Before we were certified parenting coaches, we spent over 20 years as licensed childcare professionals. And let me tell you, when you are managing a room full of energetic toddlers, if you don't have a routine, you don't have a room. You have a riot.
Oh my goodness, yes. It was pure survival, but it taught us so much about the psychology of young children.
It really did. So let's unpack this. Why are routines so critical?
Well, think about how it feels to be a child. You're tiny, you don't have a watch, you can't read a clock, and you have absolutely zero control over your life. You get picked up, plopped in a car seat, strapped into a high chair, told to sleep, told to wake up. It's actually incredibly disorienting if you think about it.
Absolutely.
So routines are their clocks. It's how they tell time. They know, okay, after we read a book, the lights go out. Or after I put my shoes on, we get in the car. It gives them a sense of safety.
Yeah, that safety aspect is huge. When a child feels safe because they can predict their environment, their brain is literally in a different state. They aren't in a fight or flight mode. This is where I see a lot of behavioral breakdowns in our coaching sessions. Parents will come to us and say, my kid is melting down every single transition.
Yes, the dreaded transitions.
Right? And when we dig into it, we find out that the child is constantly being surprised by the next activity. I remember a family we worked with in one of our coaching sessions. Let's call them the Harrison family for privacy reasons. They had a wonderfully spirited 4-year-old. Let's call him Leo for privacy reasons. And Leo was having explosive tantrums every night at bath time.
I remember them. That was a tough season for them.
It was, and the parents were at their wits' end. They were trying timeouts, taking away toys. Nothing worked. So we started looking at the lead up to bath time. And what was happening? Well, Leah would be deeply engaged in building a Lego tower, and suddenly Dad would swoop in and say, okay, buddy, time for a bath, and literally sweep him off the floor.
Oh, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. You just yanked him out of his work.
Exactly. Play is a child's work. Imagine if you were deeply focused on writing an email and I just closed your laptop and said, time to go to the grocery store. You'd be furious.
I would probably throw a tantrum, honestly.
Right? So with the Harrisons, again, a pseudonym for privacy reasons, we just implemented a predictable routine. A visual timer was introduced. 10 minutes before bath, a warning. 5 minutes before, a warning. Then a consistent sequence. Clean up Legos together, pick out pajamas, turn on the bathwater. Within a week, the tantrums went from a 10 to a 2.
It's so powerful. And a big part of what we do when we work with families is reminding them that there is no one-size-fits-all answer. What worked for Leo might not work perfectly for another child. Maybe another child needs a transition song instead of a timer. It's all about tailoring it to your family's unique rhythm and values.
Totally. And Edna, you are the absolute master at this when it comes to sleep. I mean, you were the lifesaver for so many of our families during those early sleep-deprived months. How does routine play into sleep?
Sleep routines are my absolute favorite thing to talk about. When you have a newborn, life is basically chaos, right? You're just surviving. But as they get into that 3, 4, 5 month mark, their little brains are craving patterns. I remember a family from our coaching. Let's call them the Chin family for privacy reasons.
Oh yeah, the Chins. Good folks.
Wonderful family. They came to us exhausted, just bags under their eyes, running on fumes. Their 6-month-old, let's call her Mia for privacy reasons, was waking up 5 times a night. They had no bedtime routine. Some nights she fell asleep in the living room with the TV blaring. Other nights she was rocked in a dark room. Mia's brain had no cues to tell her, hey, it's time for long, deep sleep.
It's like her body was constantly guessing what was supposed to happen next.
Exactly. So we didn't do anything drastic. We just established a 20-minute wind-down routine. Dim the lights in the house, give a warm bath, put on a sleep sack, feed, read one book, and then into the crib. Same order every single night.
Consistency is key.
It is. And the magic of that is neurobiological. When you dim the lights and do the same calming steps, Mia's brain starts releasing melatonin before she even gets to the crib. The routine literally changes her brain chemistry to prepare for sleep.
That is so incredible. And it's not just babies either. That works for adults too. If I don't read my book before bed, I'm tossing and turning.
And if you don't have your specific pillow.
Okay, don't expose all my secrets.
But it's true. We all rely on routines.
We really do. You know, thinking back to our daycare days, we had to rely heavily on routines or nothing would get done.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember this one little girl we had at the daycare. Let's call her Chloe for privacy reasons. Chloe was just wonderful, but she had a really hard time transitioning from outdoor play to indoor lunchtime.
Oh, I remember that. She would just freeze at the door.
She would freeze and then the tears would start. It was too abrupt for her. So what we did was create a transitional routine. When we were outside, about 5 minutes before going in, we would ring a gentle little bell. That was the cue. Then, instead of just walking inside, we made a routine out of stomping the dirt off our boots like dinosaurs.
Yes, the dinosaur stomps. I miss doing that.
It was so much fun, but more importantly, it worked. The routine of the bell, followed by the dinosaur stumps, gave Chloe a bridge. It bridged the gap between the fun outside and the quiet time inside. The routine became the activity itself.
That is such a great point, Tim. When a routine is engaging, it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like play, and kids speak the language of play.
Absolutely.
Hey, Tim, before we dive into how to handle the inevitable routine regressions, because we all know kids love to throw a wrench in our carefully laid out plans, let's take a quick pause.
Perfect time for it. Speaking of routines, we want to make sure you have us in your routine. Remember, new episodes of the Rising Parent podcast are released every Monday and Friday.
Yes, start your week and end your work week with us. And as many of you know, we created this podcast not only to help families thrive, but also to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
That's right. If you are finding value in this episode or any of our episodes, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. It means the world to us, and it makes a huge, tangible difference for families facing food insecurity. We'll also have a link to Selfless Outreach provided right down there in the show notes.
Absolutely. Selflessoutreach.org. We appreciate your support so much. Now, getting back to the trenches, regressions.
The R word.
Right? Just when you think you have the routine nailed down, your kid gets a cold, or you go on a family vacation, or they hit a developmental milestone, and boom, the routine goes out the window.
Oh, yeah, we hear this in our coaching sessions all the time. Edna, it was working perfectly, and now my 2-year-old is refusing to put on his shoes again. Parents panic. They think, oh no, the routine is broken forever.
But it's not broken, is it?
No, it's not. It's just paused. Life happens. Sickness happens. You have to give yourself grace. I worked with a lovely family recently. Let's call them the Jenkins family for privacy reasons. They had a solid bedtime routine for their toddler. Let's call her Lily for privacy reasons. But then Lily got a terrible ear infection. For a week, she was sleeping in mom and dad's bed, watching cartoons at 2 a.m., the whole 9 yards, pure survival mode.
Which is totally okay, by the way. When they're sick, you do what you have to do to provide comfort.
Exactly. But when Lily recovered, she wanted to keep the 2 a.m. cartoon party going. The parents were stressed, thinking they ruined everything. I had to reassure them, you didn't break her. You just have to gently, firmly guide her back to the tracks.
So how did you guide them to do that?
We went back to basics. We didn't try to reinforce it all angrily. We just picked up the old routine like it had never left. Visual schedule back on the wall. First bath, then books, then bed. Lily protested for about 3 nights. She pushed the boundary, asking for the TV, but mom and dad held the boundary with empathy. I know you want cartoons, but it's sleep time now. By night 4, Lily was back in her groove.
That's the beauty of having an established routine in the first place. The muscle memory is there. It's so much easier to return to a routine than to build one from scratch.
Yes, exactly.
You know, another thing I see causing a lot of friction with routines is when parents try to adopt a routine they saw on Instagram or TikTok, but it doesn't fit their actual family dynamic.
Oh, the comparison trap. It's so dangerous.
It really is. A parent will come to us and say, well, this influencer wakes up at 5 a.m., makes an organic bento box, does 30 minutes of sensory play, and has the kids out the door by 7 a.m. Why can't I do that?
Because you're a human being who needs sleep.
Right. And maybe your family isn't a morning family. We worked with a couple, let's call them the O'Connors for privacy reasons. They were both night shift nurses. Their mornings looked completely different than a typical 9 to 5 family. They were trying to force a 7 a.m. standard morning routine, and they were all miserable.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
It was. So we stepped back. We said, let's reject this one-size-fits-all nonsense. What do you value? What does your family need? We helped them build a routine that allowed for a later, slower start to the day. Their morning routine didn't start until 9:30. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. A routine is a tool to serve your family, not a master you have to obey.
That is such a vital message. The routine has to serve you.
Speaking of tools, I want to pivot a bit and talk about the actual tangible tools we can use to enforce routines, because sometimes words just aren't enough for kids, especially toddlers who are very visual and tactile.
Oh, visual schedules.
Visual schedules are the holy grail.
They really are. When we were running the daycare, visual schedules were plastered everywhere.
Yep, and they weren't just for the kids who couldn't read yet, they were for everyone. I remember we had a little boy, let's call him Sam for privacy reasons. Sam had a lot of big feelings during morning drop-off. He would cling to his dad's leg. We used a visual schedule board right by the cubbies.
I remember that board. It had little Velcro pictures.
Yeah, it had a picture of hanging up the coat, washing hands, circle time, snack time, and all the way at the end, a picture of Dad coming back. When Sam arrived, he was distressed, but we would say, let's check the board. He would physically take the coat picture off and put it in the done envelope. Giving him that physical, visual task grounded him.
It gives them a sense of control, and that is so important. Kids push back on routines when they feel like things are constantly being done to them. Put your shoes on, eat this, go here. But when you say, look at your chart, what's next, they become active participants.
You're the boss of your chart. I love saying that to kids.
It works like a charm. Another tool I love for routines is music. We touched on it earlier with the transition bell, but having specific songs for specific parts of the routine is brilliant.
The cleanup song.
The cleanup song is a classic for a reason, but you can do a brush your teeth song, a getting dressed song. We had a family in our coaching. Let's call them the Garcias for privacy reasons. Their toddler, let's call him Mateo for privacy reasons, would literally run away when it was time to brush his teeth. It was a chase around the coffee table every single night.
A familiar game of tag for many parents.
Totally. So instead of yelling, "Get back here," they picked a 2-minute silly song on their phone. They told Mateo, when this song plays, it's the toothbrush dance party. They started dancing into the bathroom. It totally flipped the script. The routine became fun.
That's a massive paradigm shift. You're changing the association from time to do a boring chore to time to connect and be silly. And that actually leads into a really important aspect of routine that we often overlook: connection. Connection. A good routine shouldn't just be a list of tasks to check off. It should have little pockets of connection built in.
Oh, I love that. Give me an example.
Okay, so in a morning routine, everyone is usually rushing. Shoes, coats, bags, go. But what if the routine includes, right before you open the front door, a 10-second hug every single day, or a secret handshake?
Aw, that's sweet.
Right? It takes 10 seconds, but that micro moment of connection fills the child's cup right before they head out into the world. And because it's part of the routine, it doesn't get forgotten in the hustle and bustle.
That is beautiful, and it works for the end of the day, too. In the evening routine, that connection time is usually reading a book, but it could also be a highs and lows chat at dinner or a special back rub while you sing a lullaby. These anchors of connection make the child feel secure, which ironically makes them more compliant with the rest of the less fun routine tasks, like brushing teeth.
Exactly. Compliance follows connection, always.
You know, one question we get a lot is about weekends.
Oh, the weekend trap. Let's talk about it.
Parents want to know, do I have to keep this strict routine on Saturday and Sunday? Because frankly, parents are tired. They want to sleep in. They want to wear pajamas until noon.
Which is totally valid. We need rest too.
Absolutely. But then they complain that Monday morning is an absolute train wreck.
Because the kids have experienced jet lag, essentially.
Yes, toddler jet lag. If they wake up 6:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, but you let them sleep until 8:30 on the weekend and naps get pushed back and bedtime gets pushed to 9 p.m., come Monday morning, their internal clocks are totally out of whack.
So what's the middle ground? Because we definitely aren't saying you have to run military drills on a Sunday morning.
Right. The middle ground is keeping the sequence the same, even if the timing shifts a tiny bit, or maintaining the anchor points.
Anchor points. I like that. Break that down.
So an anchor point is a non-negotiable part of the day that keeps the biological clock ticking somewhat normally. Waking up within an hour of the normal time, having meals around the normal time, and keeping the bedtime routine intact, even if it happens 30 minutes later.
That makes total sense. I remember a family, let's call them the Smiths for privacy reasons. They had an older child, 6 years old, let's call her Emma for privacy reasons. Weekends were a free-for-all for them, and Sunday nights were full of tears and anxiety because Emma didn't want to go to school on Monday.
The Sunday scaries.
The Sunday scaries, they are real for kids too. We realized that Emma was anxious because the contrast between the chaotic, zero-structure weekend and the highly structured school day was too jarring. So we implemented a Sunday evening wind-down routine. After dinner on Sunday, they packed the backpack together, picked out clothes, and did a slightly longer, cozier bedtime routine. It brought the structure back gently, preparing her brain for Monday.
It bridges the gap. I love that.
It really does. And you know, as we talk about all these strategies, visual timers, connection points, anchor points, the overarching theme here is consistency.
Consistency. It's the hardest part of parenting, isn't it?
It is, because you're tired. It's so much easier in the moment to say, fine, just watch the iPad in bed just to get them to stop crying.
We've all been there.
We have, but that short-term fix creates a long-term problem. When we break the routine, we are essentially telling the child, if you push hard enough, the boundary moves.
Wow. Say that again, Tim. That is huge.
When we break the routine, we are telling the child, if you push hard enough, the boundary moves. And kids are little scientists. They will test that hypothesis again tomorrow and the next day, and they will push even harder.
So true. And this is why it's so important for both parents or all caregivers involved to be on the same page.
Oh, caregiver alignment, huge.
If mom does the routine one way and dad lets them skip half the steps, the child is going to be confused and they're going to naturally gravitate toward the path of least resistance, which usually leads to a meltdown when the more structured parent tries to step back in.
We saw this all the time at the daycare.
Oh my goodness, yes.
When a child had a solid routine with us at the daycare, but no routine at home, they were often two different kids. I remember a boy, let's call him Julian for privacy reasons. At daycare, Julian would tidy up his toys, sit at the table, wash his hands, no problem, because the routine was unwavering. But his parents would tell us he throws his food on the floor and refuses to clean up.
And the parents were always so baffled. Why is he an angel for you guys?
And it wasn't because we were magic, it was just because Julian knew that at daycare, the routine never changed. The boundary never moved. He felt secure in that. At home, things were a bit more chaotic, so he acted out to try and find where the boundaries were.
Kids will always test the fences to see if they are electrified.
That's a bit of a stark analogy, but yes, they want to know the fence is sturdy. It makes them feel safe to know a sturdy fence is keeping them protected.
It really is about safety. And I want to emphasize, especially for parents in those early sleep-deprived months, that creating a routine is an act of self-care for you, the parent, too.
Absolutely.
And when your baby or toddler is on a predictable routine, you get your time back. You know from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. is nap time. That is your time to shower, to drink a hot cup of coffee, or to just stare blankly at a wall.
Staring at a wall is a highly underrated parenting activity.
It really is. But if you don't have a routine, you are constantly on edge. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Will they nap today? Will they sleep tonight? That unpredictability spikes your cortisol as a parent.
That's so true. The routine is the life raft for the whole family.
Okay, so Tim, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about mornings, sleep, transitions. Let's boil this down for our listeners. What are our key takeaways today?
Let's do it. Key takeaway number 1, routines equal safety. Children crave predictability because they have very little control over their lives. A consistent routine acts as their clock and significantly reduces anxiety and behavioral breakdowns.
Love that. Key takeaway number 2, tools are your best friend. Don't just rely on your voice to guide a routine. Use visual schedules, musical cues, and timers. Let your child be an active participant in the routine, like being the boss of their visual chart.
Perfect. And key takeaway number 3, reject the one-size-fits-all approach. Your routine must serve your unique values and lifestyle. It's okay if your morning routine starts at 9 a.m. Be flexible with the timing if life happens, but stay consistent with the sequence and the boundaries.
So good. And remember, sprinkle those micro moments of connection into the routine. A 10-second hug goes a long way.
It really does. Well, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. We hope this episode helps you move from morning meltdowns to confident, connected routines.
If you love this episode, please, we have a huge favor to ask. Make sure you subscribe to the Rising Parent Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
And if you have a minute, leave us a 5-star review. It helps other parents find the show, and we read every single one.
And remember, we are here for you twice a week. New episodes of the Rising Parent Podcast are released every Monday and Friday.
Finally, as a reminder, we created this podcast to help families and to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach. If you found value in this episode, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Your support means everything. Every donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. We have a link to Selfless Outreach provided in the show notes for you.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. You are doing a great job, even on the hard days.
You really are. Keep rising, parents. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.